All right, Big Bang. Today is Monday. It is March 18th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Snake Draft Monday. White Sox Dave is out, so we swapped him in with three guests here. We got Titus on the couch. We got Big Ev at the desk, and we also have Cheah at the desk. Welcome. College basketball, obviously yesterday was Selection Sunday. We're recording it before then, though, but I love this draft. We did this with college football, and it was really fun. It's just like a memory lane kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
This is just like guys talking dudes.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I was enjoying coming up with the list.
Yeah.
Just thinking of those guys, you're like, damn, like that guy was awesome to watch.
Yes. And to reiterate, it's college basketball players you thought would be stars, but weren't. So, like, right off the jump, stars is very subjective.
Yeah.
So that's where I think this gets fun.
Yeah.
Like, I think he was more of a star than you know what I mean? So that's where it's fun. I also don't think injuries should be held against anyone.
Yeah, I thought about that too.
Yeah.
Because Jay Williams immediately came to mind as like one of the greatest college point guards of all time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But obviously he wrecked his motorcycle and that was the end of that. I didn't realize, by the way, as an aside, he wrecked his motorcycle very close to where I moved when I moved here to Chicago, Roscoe Village.
Wow.
I was reading up on it because I was
I don't think I knew that.
I was researching this, and I'm like scrolling through his Wikipedia, and he's like, he wrecked it in Roscoe Village.
Belmont Honor.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, that was right by the office too.
Yep, right by the old office.
Wow.
Yep. Belmont Honor.
It should be like a plaque or something.
I know. Right under a viaduct. I thought about going there and
Speed
doing
bump, maybe.
Speed bump, yeah.
Because last year was the 20th anniversary. I thought about going like a TikTok there, but I was like, that's kind of dark.
Might be in poor taste.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
It's something I never thought about till I moved to this city, and I'm like, damn, dude, that's like
It was like
an iconic intersection.
I know.
It was like a 6-7 year window where like three major stars got taken out with motorcycle injuries, like Jay Williams, Kellen Winslow Jr., and then Big Ben had one, but like recovered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right.
I forgot about the Big Ben.
Then they just like stopped riding them after that.
Yeah.
That was it.
Probably started getting written into contracts. Like,
Yeah.
Probably. So yeah, like him, Greg Oden, like I don't think they are in the scope of the draft.
all right.
That's like maybe the poster child of
Yeah.
He was injured.
He was definitely.
But he had like
top of the list for sure.
other issues. Yeah, I think.
All right.
So what about
My apologies.
like a Brendan Roy?
That one to me
was
that's
a
the
star.
Jay
He had all-star
Williams.
teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
he was like pure, just great star, and then it just ended.
legs fell
Oh
apart.
boy.
Well, you're in trouble.
I feel like this is gonna be.
a lot of different.
We haven't even
here.
started yet.
Yeah, we're already discussing.
Yeah, so like Greg
We're
Oden.
already
doesn't count.
negotiating.
Like, wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, we're all talking like we're all very sure of things. We're like, and obviously we're not going to do like Greg Oden, and so
He was my number one on my
obviously we're not
board.
gonna-
Yeah, I mean, he has to
Pretty
be
high.
number one on the board.
Yeah.
I feel like if you made an all-star team, NBA all-star team,
Yeah, which
You-
Oden never did.
yes, you don't
Yeah.
qualify for
Right.
this.
Okay.
All right, we can just get into it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see where we land. All right, Titus. Lance has a number 1 through 5 behind his back. What number is it?
Oh, that's a 3, obviously. I can see it.
It is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You got a mirror behind you, dude. I can see. Is it really a 3?
It was a
It
3.
looked into his soul.
Which pick do you want?
I'm going. My 1-1 is my favorite college basketball player of all time.
Whoa.
No.
So you're taking the number 1 pick.
I thought that's what you said. We were.
Oh no. Sorry, you pick your draft order now.
Oh.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
good. You're good.
Do you want to go first
So-
overall?
You could go first, fifth, third. It doesn't matter.
Oh, fuck it. I'll go first. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, then.
Yeah.
Big F. Lance has 1 through 4 behind his back. What number is it?
1.
No.
Cheah.
Dose.
Dose.
All right.
What spot do you want?
Let me go with the 5 spot.
All right. Chief. Lance has 1 through 3 behind his
3.
back. What number is it?
No.
2.
No.
All right, Ev.
1.
Yeah.
So I'll take the second pick.
Okay. Chief, 1 or 2?
1.
No.
2.
Yep.
All right, I'll go third. All right, so the order is Titus, Big Ev, Eddie, Chief, Cheah. Before we get going here, we do want to talk about ChevyDriveChicago.com. The auto show may be over, but the best deals at your local Chevy dealer are still going. If it's time for a new car, your local Chevy dealer has something for you. The all-new Equinox, Trax, and Blazer are SUVs you'll want to test drive and drive often. So you're like, what, 2 weeks in?
Oh, yeah.
How's it going so far?
I got to tell you, I'm not even through 1 tank of gas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been all the way out to the suburbs to see my parents. That thing, I'm in love. throw the dog in the back, throw the hockey bag in the back. I'm a whole new me, and I owe it all to Chevy Drive Chicago.
Yeah, there you go. The gray Chevy Blazer that you're driving, fuel efficient.
Yep.
You could check all these out. Like I said, the Equinox, the Trax, the Blazer, SUVs you're going to want. Obviously, you guys know the other fleet too.
I think they have the best line of SUVs going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So giving everything from style to comfort, safety, and plenty of room, there is a Chevy SUV for you. Head to ChevyDriveChicago.com to learn more about these cars and find your local Chevy dealer today. Go do it. Simple as that. All right, let's hop into the draft. Let's kick things off. The college players you thought would be stars in the NBA draft. Titus, you're up.
All right. Yeah, sorry about that. But we're here now. My 1-1, I think it's pretty obvious, is Lynn Bias. Huge star in the – I'm kidding. I remember he came out in 86. I said he will not die of a cocaine overdose. And then, God damn it, he did. And I was very wrong. My 1-1 is
never an NBA All-Star. Cheah says it's good.
My 1-1 is my favorite college basketball player of all time, Adam Morrison. I fell in love with him when he was at Gonzaga. Him and JJ. I mean, I was kind of just the right age too. I was a senior in high school when Reddick and Morrison were going on. I remember Adam Morrison. Whether it's true or not, I remember Adam Morrison invented streaming sports on the internet because Reddick versus Morrison for National Player of the Year in 2005 was such a heated thing. But Duke was on television every single night. Gonzaga was on no TVs. They and the 2 or 3 times they would put him on TV, it was like 11:30. So ESPN in 05, when the internet was coming around, they were like, we gotta find a way to pump this whole story up. But how can we do it? And I remember watching Gonzaga on my family desktop computer in the computer room, where we could on the dial-up internet. I would go to ESPN.com and watch this laggy footage of live Gonzaga basketball games because I loved Adam Morrison so much. I thought not that he was going to necessarily be an NBA superstar, but he was going to be Larry Bird. He was very obviously going to be Larry Bird, and then he tore his ACL, so he did get hurt, and he had diabetes. People forget he had diabetes.
A lot going against him.
People do forget that.
Yeah,
I did.
Forgot it, but. And wasn't he like the 3rd overall pick?
Yeah.
So like other people, Michael Jordan, thought he was going to be a star too. So
also NBA champion, I believe.
Yeah, he might have won 2.
The Lakers?
He won at least one, but he won. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't necessarily think Adam Morrison was going to be a Hall of Famer, but I thought he would certainly make an All-Star team or two, and maybe he would have. I don't know. He had actually, if you go back and look, his rookie year was actually not that bad. I don't mean to say he was on a trajectory of Hall of Fame, but then he tore his knee up and. He was kind of never the same after that. So
that was it.
That's my 1-1.
When you say Adam Morrison, the first thing I think about is him crying on the court after, which is actually an interesting parallel to Caleb Williams coming out this year. It was like the last super hyped up, super hyped up guy that everyone's like, this is the next guy, and he has that one thing, and that's obviously like a kind of separate incident. Obviously, you're very emotionally invested in the game, you lose it, but similar thing. Just wanted to point that out.
I'm blanking out. Who was 1-2 that year?
That 2006.
In that draft,
was that was the 06 draft, right? It was Bargnani. Was Andre Bargnani to the Raptors?
Yes, and then was that Marcus Aldridge?
I think you might be. Yeah.
Yes, it was Bargnani and Aldridge. Yes.
Yeah.
That was such an awesome Player of the Year race, though.
Yeah,
that's got to be the best one of all time.
It was East Coast, West Coast. It was
every single day.
It was fucking crazy, and both guys were one up at each other. Like every time they took the court, they were scoring like 27.
What did JJ average, like 30 that year? Something crazy like that, high 20s?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was great.
So that's I love Adam Morrison so much. He's kind of a weird guy, I've been told, but I don't want to meet my heroes.
Yeah, I'm surprised you never talked to him.
I could, I say no. Like I've had opportunities to get him on the show, and I'm like, I don't want to meet my heroes.
I feel like that was one of the big things that like made PMT like a national.
No, it was
thing.
like
PFT.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Dan started telling me about that. I was like, shut up. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to know anything about it. All I want to remember Adam Morrison as is what I saw on the court for Gonzaga in 2005, 2006.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
Big F.
I feel good about this. I was going to take it one way regardless. I mean, Jimmer Fredette. Just the range. I mean, just the scoring ability. He was right after Curry, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah. He was 2011.
So he almost was kind of like that next, he's like the next Steph Curry kind of thing. A little more of a shooting guard than Steph, but just the range and just he was appointment television. Everyone's watching every game, especially at BYU where like just not a like premier program. I remember he had that great. I think it was his year where the second best player on the team had like sex at a wedlock, and they kicked him off the team.
Yeah,
Brandon so that kind of like that hurt their that hurt their tournament run kind of. But Jimmer was like as box office that gets college basketball. Obviously didn't pan out, but he was to me like the first. When you said this draft choice, it was the first thing I thought of was Jimmer Fredette.
And how old are you?
29.
29. So this kind of makes sense because Jimmer was when I like feel like I first started to understand like, oh, he might not project well at the next level.
He's great at this.
So like to me, like I'm like, no, but like you're younger, so like it makes sense in your dumb brain at the time.
Well, yeah, I got dumb brain ones from the 90s where it's like I swore this guy was going to be great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, he was a stud.
That's crazy that they were good enough to win a national championship. And a guy, if I remember right, he like impregnated his girlfriend. That's how they found out.
I thought they just walked in on basically having sex with his girlfriend or something.
Crazy.
And just were like, yeah, you're out. You're off the basketball team.
They were so good, too.
It's a pretty badass way to get kicked off a team, though.
Just guy fucks.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
You're gone. See ya. All right. I'm interested to hear how this one's going to go over, especially after those two, because those two were kind of no-brainers. This guy played in the league for 10 years. He won Rookie of the Year, but I still contend that I thought Emeka Okafor was the next coming.
Yep.
Like such a polished college product. In the 04 draft when the Magic went with Dwight Howard, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What are you
that being
doing?
A thing. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Was Okafor on one of those
won a national title.
Won a national championship.
I know he won a national title. Yeah. I want to say he might have been on the 08 Redeem team with like LeBron and those guys. Was he not?
It feels familiar. So. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't
familiar that he was in the mid. Yeah, he might have been.
Like I don't know
how much. You're right about that, Chief. And if you're not right, then I'm going down with you. I'm on the ship with you. That I remember Emeka Okafor being on a USA team.
I definitely have an image of him. Maybe he was just like invited to camp.
Yeah.
But
not on the team. He was probably in the camp. They do have like a younger roster.
I remember like Emeka Okafor being in the mix.
Yeah. He's not listed here, so you're safe. But yeah, all right, fine.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about that though.
Eddie, you literally to a T. I remember. I guess I was when he got drafted. I was like 9. I remember being like, "Oh, like he just won the national title player there. Like he's got to be," and being like, "Who the fuck is Dwight Howard?
Yeah,
like, this guy. Like get this bozo out of here. They picked this guy number 1. What are they doing?
Yeah,
me being 9 years old, I had no idea. Like, oh, obviously the Dwight Howard's this monster,
yes,
this freak. Just thinking, oh, you're national player of the year, you're national championship team best player. You're just gonna be good in the league, no doubt.
Yeah, I was so sold on Okafor. Like,
he was a stud. That team was so fun. That UConn team, because that was the Ben Gordon team, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I miss,
and that was when like like they were just dominating men's and women's, like Diana Taurasi and all that. They were just. I felt like it was like her and Okafor. They just like dominated like that season. They were just like
they won both, right?
Just the kings and queens of college basketball.
I miss high school guys coming. He accepted an invitation to the United States team for the 04 Summer Olympics. He was in the 04 Summer Olympics. Okay. Yeah, Okafor was.
Which that team?
So because he just won the national title, and then he was like the Christian Laettner.
Of
the
says a lot.
Yeah.
I miss high schoolers in the NBA draft. I miss like debating Dwight Howard and Emeka Okafor. It was such a funny time to like you have unlimited amount of footage on this guy who just won a national championship and is an All-American, and we've watched him on television every single second of his career, versus a kid who you're just seeing like grainy YouTubes of, because like high school games weren't even on TV back then.
Yeah,
just dunking on 6'4" white guys.
The center that's guarding him's like 6'4".
Yeah, and that's the whole reason. That's the whole reason the NBA did the one and done rules, because even the GMs were like, "How the fuck do I compare these two dudes? Like, how do you even make sense of which one of these guys is going to be better?" But it was so fun being an amateur GM and like arguing with your buddies about whether the guy dunking on high school kids or winning a national championship was better. And the high school guy was better.
Yeah, and the analysts, I think, were in the dark, too, because I think it was Dickie V. I vividly remember being like, they're going to regret that forever. That was a terrible. It's like, of course you're going to say that, Dickie V.
Yeah.
All you watch is college. You don't know shit about this guy, Dwight Howard. So, like, that sold me, too. I was like, fuck yeah. Like, what? What is he doing?
Tyson Chandler was the all-time high school mixtape guy coming. Like his dunks were so fucking ferocious, dude. I watched like Tyson Chandler highlights. I think he was like the 02 draft or something. 01, and then Eddie Curry was 02.
No, same draft.
Same draft.
Oh, it was the same draft.
Yeah, Twin Towers.
Traded out the brand.
Tyson Chandler was insane high school. on high school tape. But
imagine being like a
digress.
7'1" good athlete in high school.
Yeah.
Like, you must only dunk. I mean, he actually only dunked in the pros, but like,
Yeah, that would have been Jay Williams with those two. That would have been the squad if not for that motorcycle.
And well, some guy who might get drafted later. I won't say his name.
Okay.
Chief, you're up.
So we're not doing Greg Oden?
I mean, if you want to take,
I feel like he is the poster child of this. Like, he was so hyped coming out of high school. He delivered at Ohio State, took him all the way to the national championship. He was the next great center, and I don't think it was just injuries that derailed him.
well, I don't know. Titus, can you expand? I don't know if that puts you in a bad spot, guy, but
It was injuries, but
You think it was solely injuries?
I do, but
Okay. So are we disqualifying?
I mean, he liked going to bars. A lot of NBA guys do.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, his thing was he had microfracture surgery at a time. He was like the last guy to ever have microfracture surgery. He was like the last. Like Amari Stoudemire was getting microfracture surgery, and then they're like, "Man, you lost your explosiveness. That sucks." Okay, Greg Oden, your turn. You get under there. And like, damn, you lost your explosiveness too. Yeah, this surgery sucks. Like, we shouldn't be doing this to guys. The other thing, the Blazers, if I remember right, they at the time in 2007, Shaquille O'Neal won a title in 2000, 2001, 2002, goes to the Heat, wins one in 06. This was how the NBA saw the game of basketball. Was like, we need a fucking Shaq. We need to find the next Shaq. So Greg goes to Portland, gets hurt before he plays a game, and the whole time he's off rehabbing, they're having him just beef up, and they're just like, dude, put on weight, be Shaq. We need you at like 320. We need you just ripping the rim down. And as it turns out, a lot of weight on knees that aren't great isn't a great combination.
Not great.
And
okay, so we'll remove him.
But you can draft him. Don't let me.
Well, I mean, if we're applying that rule to Brandon Roy, I had a different memory of his career in the beginning there. So I'll just go Keith Van Horn. Keith Van Horn, he was in that Tim Duncan pick when I thought he was Larry Bird. I thought he was going to be the next. He was a number 2 overall pick. I remember there even being like running up to the draft, being like, "Do you want Tim Duncan or Keith Van Horn?" Like, Keith Van Horn just took Utah all the way to the national championship. So Keith Van Horn is my pick, and I feel like he had a nice long career.
Yeah, didn't have a bad career,
but he was just never
a star.
Yeah,
good years on those good Nets teams.
Yeah,
like 2000s.
But he was like the 4th guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He was in a couple big trades, I think I remember. At least one.
Because he was going to be a star potential. Better throw in Keith Van Horn. We need that guy. Yeah.
Knee-high socks guy, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
oh
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's the last of a dying breed.
Yeah, it was like him and like Andre Miller were on that Utah team, and they were.
Was Jason Terry a knee-high socks guy?
yes.
Yeah.
Glenn Robinson.
Yeah.
Robinson.
Big dog. Yeah.
I don't remember him that much, so.
Yeah, this is a little bit before your time.
Yeah.
Because I think this was like 1998.
Yeah, great run of Utah basketball.
Yeah.
They always lost to Kentucky.
Yeah, Majerus.
Majerus once shit in a towel and handed it to a manager. My favorite Rick Majerus story.
What year was
Google that one. Read up on that.
Cheah, you're up.
I think my list is going to be a little bit different from a lot of people's, but this one, I'm a Knicks fan. 2015 NBA draft with the 4th pick. I kind of sold myself that he wasn't going to be there, but this is the guy I was hoping for. Huge college, big name program. It's Jahlil Okafor.
Yeah, love it.
Duke. Yeah, growing up as a big guy, you just like admire post moves because they look so easy especially for him, guys that can do it, but it's so hard to master. And it felt like he could almost do it blindfolded, where he'd get the ball in the post and he'd do a quick spin move, he'd be at the rim, do a layup. He could finish through contact, but then. This is 2015. This is right now. We're talking 9 years ago. The game, Steph Curry is very good already. Damian Lillard is very good already. The game's expanding out to a 4-point line. So a center with like a slow-footed center, admittedly, is not necessarily going to be thriving in that future arena. But in college, coming out, he was like the sure thing. Like, get yourself a big center who every time you can dump it in can get 2 points. Maybe he'll be like, he'll be steady throughout the regular season, but in the postseason, this guy's going to get you 2 points whenever you want. He was, now that we look at the modern game, he was a good passer. So he's almost like what Jokic is now. you're thinking Jahlil Okafor could have been that. And I'm not saying by any stretch, he was supposed to be like the best player in the universe.
Yeah.
But like you could project that is what you were hoping for. Best case scenario is his type of game, a very cerebral game, post up, he could square up. He didn't really have the range that Jokic has, but just the finishing ability around the rim, he had no peers.
Mm-hmm.
I had him on my board.
Me too. I was gonna, if I took him, I was gonna preface exactly what you said. Where I feel like it sounds weird, like on the board, on the graphic, it might look weird, but I was at the draft.
Yeah, my
friend had tickets through his dad's work, and I remember we saw Jahlil Okafor's family go like nuts together. It was like this, they're all like huge dudes in a circle, like just jumping up and down Shin.
Yeah.
And I remember like thinking the Knicks are like being so mad because it felt like the first 3 picks were like all slam dunks and we got 4th, which ended up being the Porzingis draft, obviously in the rest of history. But he was the best player on the national title team.
Yeah.
And was just dominant in the post.
He remains the best freshman big man I've ever seen at post moves. He was insane at his footwork, and he was like, it really did feel like he was like Tim Duncan, and he was so good at. He had such good touch. You said it all, Cheah.
A technician.
But yeah, as it turns out, I think he hated basketball.
Yeah,
I think he probably was just like.
Was that his thing? I thought the game just flipped when he came in.
He kind of had some effort issues. Him and Justice Winslow both. That remains like one of the wildest things. Is that Duke team was loaded. They got somehow Coach K should have retired at 20. He should have won the national championship, retired, because looking back, getting that team to give a fuck about basketball for the stretch that he did remains the most impressive thing he's ever done as a coach.
Also,
Justice Winslow and Jahlil Okafor both.
Crazy to think like that team, if someone told you like fast forward now that Jones and Grayson Allen would be the 2 best NBA players.
Right, yeah.
Like by far, not even close. You would have been like, you're crazy.
And I think there were warning signs, though. If we think back, was it him or was it Jabari where they would K would do defensive switches at the end of the game, and it's like, all right, dude, like if you're gonna be a top 5 pick, like, and you're the star, you got to be able to stay on the court for the end of the game.
Yeah.
So there was in hindsight, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, it was like at the shift of the NBA.
Yeah, it's like Hibbert aged out of that. It was like the last, and then he got.
Hibbert really was like the last guy.
He was, yeah. And then it was him.
Now, speaking of Hibbert, I still make references of Hibbert going straight up, as a rim protector and just going vertical to block shot. And the younger people think that he was so good at that. I just have a mental image of Roy Hibbert standing under the basket, just going straight up as a wall, jumping up with a guy trying to dunk on him, and just if he doesn't block the shot, he just plays great defense.
Yep.
And then in the snap of a finger, it went from dude, he is a great rim protector to get this guy off the fucking floor.
yes.
Yeah.
What's Roy Hibbert getting minutes for?
Yeah, and then Ja got drafted kind of right into that.
Yeah.
So, Cheah, you're up.
I'm going to go back to the 2008 NBA draft. Derrick Rose goes first, but there's another guy who's waiting there, Michael Beasley, who dominated college basketball at Kansas State. Every time you look up, you see a highlight, he's got 25 and 12, and he's just making it look so easy. Left-hander, so smooth. He's got range. He can drive it. He's big. He's quick. He's kind of like a Carmelo-type body, a little more muscular, but, this guy could get wherever he wanted. He could finish around the rim. Obviously, this is at a point where it's 2024 now, but tattoos and stuff weren't as mainstream. He had a little bit of a different look. He was kind of the Iverson type mold, but no concerns outside of, Kansas State wasn't a big name program at that time for basketball.
He's a guy who loved weed, right?
Loved weed.
Yeah.
Still does.
Yeah.
Still does.
Super cool bees. He's a guy who's a journeyman. Really, around in his NBA career, and he's a good guy who you can sign. He can be a bench guy who can get you some points, but he's not going to be a reliable postseason guy.
I can't remember who gave the interview. It was a TikTok clip, but it was a former NBA guy who said that he was on that Heat team with LeBron, and they would play 1-on-1, and he said he beat LeBron 30 times in a row, or something insane like that. He was just he was nasty, but I don't know if maybe it was another effort thing, but he was a great player. He was a great player, but never. You're right, because I remember that being a debate a little bit.
Yes.
A little bit of Rose and Bees. What do the Bulls do? It's
if he's not from here, there's a real chance we take Beasley.
Yeah,
for sure.
He was so good, and he was a year after Durant too in the Big 12. So you had back-to-back years of freshmen who are just putting up absurd numbers and single-handedly carrying their team. Beasley, I remember Beasley as inventing yelling "I'm him," by the way.
Really?
If you follow Beasley on Instagram, he's just like always playing in like some fucking Lifetime Fitness. A bunch of dudes. He still plays, and he's got his shirt off and he's tatted up, and he knows where the camera is at all times. And you can go look for yourself. That's like his entire. I love following him on Instagram because he just like posts videos of him playing against dudes at Lifetime Fitness. And then he cooks them, and then he's just looking at the camera, and he's like, "They can't guard me."
That's stunning. He still plays.
Yeah. Loves the
awesome.
game. Loves the game.
He's awesome. I love Beasley so much.
Chief.
I'm taking Jabari. Jabari, to me, like, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. They called him the next LeBron. He's really more like the next Melo, but just never, I don't know. Even when the Bulls signed, or were they trade for him or signed him?
Traded for him.
Like, all right, get him back home. Like he's going to be healthy now. He had like one really good year with the Bucks where I think he was averaging 20, but I think it's almost going back more to his high school, and like maybe it's because we were living here, like the local, like that flavor. He was so nasty. He goes to Duke, great player down there. I was convinced that Jabari Parker was going to be like a scoring champion in the NBA, and just never materialized. I thought he was Carmelo 2.0.
Yeah, he had all the hype.
Yeah,
comp, yeah.
Yeah, no, he was a stud, and I feel like it really just hurt him just that they lost that game to Mercer.
Yeah.
He was like the guy.
He was terrible defensively.
Yeah.
He was so bad.
He might have got defensive switched out
Yeah.
too.
But he was a bucket, man. He was so good. He was so likable too.
Yeah.
Duke, like he was, for a guy to go to Duke, and like him and Zion were the two guys I think of that like the second they went to Duke, it was like, I don't really care. I'm still gonna cheer for him.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. He's so likable.
Yeah. We signed him, by the way. I fucked that up.
Signed him.
And then we traded him.
Yeah.
All right, I'm up. Speaking of Jay Williams, that 2000 Duke team, I love that team. That starting five was legendary, and I always thought, and he won an NBA title, but I always thought Cheah would be a little better pro. Would be a little bit. You think? Why you make that face? You think he was a star?
I think he's a really good player throughout his whole career.
And you thought he was going to be a star in the NBA?
Oh yeah.
Even though he wasn't like the best player on his own team in college?
Was he defensive?
Well, I mean, Jay Williams is like one of the best college
I
players
know.
of all time.
I know.
So you're
and you were younger.
Yeah,
you were younger.
And there's not a lot of rationale with these either.
Yeah.
Like this is just like I was convinced, and Cheah Battier was it to me. So
yeah, I remember he went like 6th overall, I think, in the draft, and he was a senior, right? He did all 4 years at Duke.
Yep.
I remember them being like, wow, because that was like the era of like the high school kid and coming out early, and he's like, they asked him like, well, how much more upside do you game him? He's like, I'm 21 years old. I'm probably gonna get better. Yeah, but they were like, people were like, oh, he's too old, 22, getting drafted. That's why he slipped.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't seem to like that, Cheah.
I think he had a very good career. He never made an all-star team, but he was like defensive player of the year finalist like several times. I mean, that was his specialty, and he lasted for a long time. He looks like I think he won a title with the Heat.
He did.
Yeah.
He went to like Perkins or something after, like Denny's or something after they won the championship. Yeah. Remember some like famous picture of him just like in a booth at a diner.
Sounds right.
You could tell me that he was like the senator from North Carolina now, and I believe you. Like that, like he just
he did. He feels like you.
That's the thing too. Like the way he looks, he commanded like such a presence.
Yeah.
Like he was like he looked like a star.
But having said that, didn't ESPN? Is he still broadcasting? They like tried to make. I remember him interviewing people during the draft. He was not good at it.
What is
really?
He
did a draft. He did an NBA draft where he was interviewing the guys as they got drafted, and I don't remember why he was bad at it, but it was kind of shocking because you would assume Cheah Battier, he's like so smart and so polished. Yeah. But I remember everyone was like, "What? This guy's terrible. He's asking terrible questions and just kind of smiling at all times without talking."
Jay Williams, I just looked it up. He averaged 21.3 points a game. Battier was 19.9. So he was like right there.
Yeah.
But I really thought he was going to be amazing. Big F.
All right, so I'm actually kind of curious how this pick's going to be received, but I just remember watching him and as a freshman just being like, this guy's going to be incredible. One of the more, what I thought, like, I'm him shots of all time, Austin Rivers. I thought was going to be like a stud. He was so good. He had obviously like his dad was an NBA player. Freshman at Duke was just lighting it up. He hit that shot against North Carolina. That was the most like onions, just like big balls, hit a walk-off, just buzzer beater shot of like one of I've ever seen, one of my favorites. I thought he was going to be like an incredible guard in the league. Played for like 10 years, was decent, but never like just kind of like a good backup point guard kind of guy. He was good defensive player on the Clippers. There's some of those good teams with Chris Paul and Blake and all that, but I thought he was going to be like a special NBA player, like one of the like top guards in the league. He was so good at Duke.
He couldn't shoot, right? Like, did that catch up to? I don't remember.
It was weird because I felt like he shot better in college. I feel like then in the pros he got to a weird point where he was like kind of like a 3-and-D guy. It felt like a little bit where he got a little bit better, but he just never became that like all around scorer.
Great high school mixtape, Austin Rivers. He was fucking nasty. Yeah, his high school. He had sick handles and vicious dunks, great stank face, which is important.
Yeah, it's important.
I was always that shot against North Carolina might be like my favorite of all time. Just I remember all the guys just rushing him. He just had that like it was like the Derrick Rose that like just like.
If I'm remembering it right too, it was like a ball screen. He got Tyler Zeller switched off onto him, and that made it cooler because he was like, "All right, now I'm gonna cook this dude." Like this tall dude. He got the matchup he wanted, wave everybody off,
and like he could have drove. He could have and he just sat there and just like cooked like a little between the legs and just like step back like dagger 3
in Chapel Hill.
Incredible. So yeah, I thought Austin Rivers. I thought he was gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I like that pick.
Austin Rivers off the board. Titus.
I get 2 in a row.
Yep.
I'm going with 2. I'll do them one at a time, but I'm going to go with 2 Arizona Wildcats. First is Derek Williams from the 2011 draft, I believe. The game against Duke is he was great all season. He was awesome for that Arizona team. But the game against Duke is one of the more iconic college basketball games of all time from an individual. It was this guy just like channeled. I struggle to find the words. The way he was dunking on everybody, he was hitting threes, he was handling the ball. It was like a magical game to watch this happen. Because Kyrie Irving had come back. He was hurt like the entire season for Duke. He had come back. There was a belief that this Duke team was going to go on a run and win a national championship. And Derek Williams just pulled his balls out and fucking destroyed them. He was so he's like 6'8", 240 or something. Yeah, I don't know. He was so explosive, and I thought that he would have a great NBA career, and he just didn't. Yeah,
where did he got drafted pretty high, right?
I think he was second.
Yeah,
he was second behind Kyrie, right?
Yeah.
He was a freak.
Yeah, he was
such a freak.
Yeah, he was a freak at Arizona.
That's a guy I like completely forgot about, and then as soon as you started talking, I'm like, oh yeah.
But there are some guys that like have a big NCAA tournament moment, and looking back, you're like, I just kind of bought into the hype from that one game he had. Yeah. He was not that. He was a guy that was like really good all season, and then when it came time to elevate his game, he elevated his game. Mm-hmm. And Arizona had UConn on the ropes that year. UConn went on to win the title with Kimba. But in that Elite Eight game, Arizona had like 5 shots at the buzzer to beat UConn and missed them all. And we all remember Kimba's run to the title, but like there's an alternate reality where one of those shots goes down and Derek Williams is like a true March Madness icon. But even still, like for a guy that didn't even make a Final Four to remember a game like that, I thought he was incredible. So Derek Williams is one that comes to mind. The other guy, and I have to actually I should have taken him first. Can I redo this for the graphic? Because I want this guy to be picked above Derek Williams. Salim Stoudemire is a guy who did not have necessarily the physical. Like it makes sense, I guess. He was 6 foot, 6'1". Wasn't the most. He wasn't dunking on guys and all that. But any opportunity I have to point out Salim Stoudemire's 2005 season, I take it. It is one of the greatest shooting performances in the history of college basketball. He shot 50% from the three-point line, attempting like 7 or 8 threes a game at a Pac-12 school, Pac-10 I guess back then. He averaged 18 points a game. He shot like 91% from the free throw line, 50% from the field. Fucking insane numbers that we may never see again in college basketball. One of the greatest shooters, if not the single greatest shooter I've ever seen in my life.
Damn.
And you assume that would translate to the NBA. He played for the Hawks for a few years. I know he wasn't super explosive, So like I didn't necessarily, I knew that like that might catch up to him, but when you watch him play, you're like, the guy doesn't miss. And it's kind of like the Jimmer thing where you're like, yeah, he might not be, his first step might not be fast enough, but like if he just shoots from 40 feet away every time,
he doesn't need a first step. Yeah, they're not going to guard him out there.
That's how I felt watching Salim Stoudemire. I was like, I don't care if he can, get by his guy and, finish at the rim. He's not going to need to. He's just going to catch and shoot threes and never miss, and that's going to be his NBA career. And, I was wrong.
No, but he was the guy. Like they had Channing Frye on that team too.
Yeah.
Right? But it was like you gotta
watch out for him.
It's about to be death by 3 if you don't stop him.
I assume you guys have a lot of Fighting Illini listeners, so I imagine that this is the part of the show where they all chime in and they're like, couldn't beat us in 05.
Might do that with the next pick. Yeah.
No, but that's obviously the best game ever in my opinion.
Yeah.
So. And Stoudemire's a big part of it. So
he's one of my favorite players ever. So
yeah.
There you
go.
This big stuff because I feel like it was more. He had a lot of like high school hype as well that led into like his college hype. I'm gonna go OJ Mayo.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because I think he was that legend. Oh, he made like the varsity team. He was in like 7th grade. It was a big thing. He was the star like all the way up. But then he was at USC. He was really good, and I thought it had that skill set to be like one of these next like great guards, and just never really panned out. But he was, I thought was gonna be an absolute superstar. Had like all the like I said, name hype around him. Had all like the flashy skills and all that. Could score, pass, all that. So yeah, I'll go OJ Mayo.
I feel like he was like a social media star almost before social media was really big.
Yeah, for sure.
Like he was like the first one of that group.
Like everyone knew his name.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was recruiting bullshit with him too, right? With Tim Floyd or no?
Yes. He was, I believe, originally committed to Kansas State with his teammate Bill Walker, who could fucking fly. He played for the Knicks, right, for a little bit.
Yep.
And then Huggins left for West Virginia. He didn't get fired. He was at Kansas State. He left for West Virginia. And then I think Bill Walker still went to Kansas State, and OJ Mayo did not. But they would have been – was he in the Beasley class? I think he was in the Beasley class. I think Beasley, Mayo, and Bill Walker were supposed to all go to Kansas State.
I wonder if Huggins –
at USC because –
yeah, they probably paid. Yeah. I wonder if Huggins, like, if he can go back in time, if he would have waited.
Just wait one more year. Yeah, dude. Yeah. That team would have been – stacked,
dirty.
Beasley and Mayo and Mayo. He was around my age, like growing up in AAU. I think he actually was my age, and then they held him back a year. But he was a guy who like very obviously was trying to, in the same way that like Kobe was trying to be just a copy of MJ. I swear OJ Mayo was just like copying Kobe with the way he would like walk around the gym, the way he would talk in interviews, the way it was like fascinating to watch because you're like watching a kid like studying Kobe Bryant who's studying Michael Jordan. And maybe that's why he didn't make it in the NBA because ultimately he's just like a diluted version of he has like no identity.
Few inches like, shorter.
Yeah. But he had the swagger, man, and but like I just remember like in 6th grade he carried himself like he was already in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So he ducked you in AAU on the record.
He what?
OJ Mayo ducked you.
Ducked me?
In AAU. Like
because
they held him back?
You want to be held back a year? Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah. I actually played with him for a year.
Where?
He was like we played on the AAU team together because he was like it was I don't know, it was a weird thing. He was like from West Virginia, but then he would sometimes lie and say he was from Ohio, and then like there were rules with AAU where you could like take guys from bordering states. So like we're an Indiana team, and like OJ wanted to play with us one year. So like in 7th grade he was on our team. And then I don't know, it was a weird deal.
That is weird.
Were you convinced then that he would be?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I remember that's my memories of OJ Mayo are less about like high school or less about college and NBA, and it's like I take myself back to like 6th grade where I'm like, this guy's like he acts like he's like 31 right now. Like the way he carried himself, because like what Cheah said, he was like a star before there were social media stars, and he just kind of had that aura about him. Anyway,
I feel like the name kind of plays it up.
That might
like,
that's true too. Yeah,
it's a good basketball.
It's a sweet name. Yeah.
Was he did his career was it substance abuse of some sort? Was that what?
He was okay in the pros.
I feel like he might have had maybe a weed suspension at some point.
Was it weed? Like was that what he got suspended for?
Maybe
I remember him getting like banned from the NBA.
Steroids?
I just don't remember what it was. What ultimately led
testing positive for PEDs.
Steroids. Steroids.
Yeah.
He said it was an unnamed energy drink he bought at a gas station.
Whoops.
Well, he was playing pro basketball last year.
Where?
In 2023. In Saudi Arabia.
I mean, doesn't count.
Last thing on OJ Mayo.
I bet you the money's real. The money's real for sure.
He's been on a bunch of, from 2018 to 2023. He's a different league every year. Asia.
Last thing I remember about him is his last time he touched a basketball on a high school court. He in the state championship, he threw an alley-oop to himself off the glass, dunked the ball, got it as the ball came through the rim, and then threw it into the crowd. And then he got ejected and walked off the court and popped his jersey and like pointed at everybody, and they won the state championship. Another great video.
It's pretty fucking.
I'm giving your listeners a lot of homework.
Yeah.
Go look that.
That sounds pretty sick. All right, back to me. Kind of in the same vein. Not as good a career as Battier, but obviously that Syracuse national title team was ran by Melo. But the guy who hit the block, Hakeem Warwick.
He was on my list.
Yeah. Hakeem Warwick was like that. He's a guy.
Yep.
He's like the bounciest guy of all time.
Yes.
Yeah.
6'7", like.
Jump out the gym.
Yes.
But like you say 6'7", I'm like, no, he was 6'10".
Yeah.
Like he was.
His arms were so long. Yeah.
No, that's a good pick.
Is he the first guy you think of on that team other than Melo?
Yeah.
Who is?
So,
Okay.
who else?
Be Jerry McNamara would basically. Be
Yeah. That'd be it.
They had that other guy. Who was the other guy?
Well, they had another white guy, no?
No, it was a black guy, and he had a.
Dwayne?
Yeah, his brother
Queth
played
Dwayne?
for.
Dwayne?
Yeah,
Dwayne.
Dwayne. Went to Wisconsin, right?
To Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Queth was on the.
On that Syracuse team.
Yeah.
No, Warwick was 6'9", my mistake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just always was like, he's a guy.
Well, I thought he'd be able to just dunk and lock people down. Like I thought he was going to be awesome too.
Yeah, I mean, he played in the league for a while, but
yeah.
Chief, you're up.
D Brown. So kind of alluded to it, but D Brown, like
Waiting.
They had, him and Luther Head and Darren Williams, like that backcourt was just unstoppable. They're so fun to watch, and the other two had better NBA careers than D Brown, but D Brown was the star of that team. Like he was a Big Ten Player of the Year. Was he National Player of the Year?
No.
But
that was.
I remember I went to the Big Ten tournament that year.
It was like
at the United Center, and it was just like this guy. He's a human he's a fast break all by himself. I thought he was like Iverson, and then I think maybe he had like a knee problem or something. But like I was convinced that he was going to be like an all-time NBA point guard just because he was so much faster than everybody. So yeah, D Brown would be third-round pick.
Maybe he did win Player of the Year. Maybe it was a split. Was it a split year?
Maybe.
Because I don't think it depends on. That's the college basketball has that problem, by the way. We don't have a Heisman. We have like 5 now. More often than not, they all agree on who the same guy is.
Yeah, but
you get some years where D Brown might have won some National Players of the Year from some places.
Yeah, they got to figure that out.
Yeah,
because the Naismith that year was. Who was it?
In 2005, he was a finalist for the Wooden Award. He was
finalist
National Player.
Sporting News College Player of the Year. Yeah.
Yep.
So there you go.
Good magazine back in the day.
Yeah.
Real good magazine.
No, you're right. When he was a guy that you see just how fast he is, and you're like, that has to translate. That has to. Like what? Because part of you is like, all right, I don't know how good of an all around player he is, but he has this one thing that he can rely on that will make him stick.
Yeah,
and he's faster than everybody.
The fastest player of all.
And I had a similar feeling. I don't know if anyone had him on the board. Probably not. But Ty Lawson was another guy who was like that. Like you watched him at Carolina, and you're like, I don't know how skilled he is. I don't know. But that dude like gets the ball in his hands on a fast break. He's just fucking gone. Yeah. Yeah. But I guess there's more to basketball.
I guess.
he had a good NBA career though.
Lawson?
He's someone who I would have said was too good to be like on
the list,
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Cheah.
I'm gonna go, and this is probably gonna date me. I think I am older than most people. Maybe Mark and I are around the same age.
I think I'm older than you.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah.
Miles Simon.
Yep. Arizona.
1997 NCAA tournament. So I'm in 5th grade right now. I'm getting into college hoops as March Madness is around the corner. Guy puts up 2 30-point games, including a 30-point game in the national championship game.
Yep.
They beat, I think, Kentucky. Just the backcourt was him and Mike Bibby, and he was the guy. So like surprising, I looked this up. He has 2 points in his NBA career. He played like a couple games.
I think he was the most outstanding player in the tournament.
He was, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He was like very
bald head,
like shaved bald, like very he stuck out on the court.
Definitely.
Like, because he just had a different look, carried himself different. Fine size, like 6'3", 200 pounds. Like, I don't know where the fall off was, but it was at that point where I'm like, how come this guy can't make the pros? And I'm like, all right, well, maybe pros are different.
Everyone else is wrong, and I'm right.
Right.
Miles Simon's clearly awesome.
But he was like a mid or late second round draft pick. So
he had 2 career points is all?
In the NBA.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Well, I knew he had more than 2 in college, Cheah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, but he played like overseas a bunch of places.
Yeah.
Thank God he made that shot.
Yeah.
He'd have nothing.
Yeah.
They people, I don't know if people actually forget this, but it feels crazy to think that Mike Bibby and Miles Simon both returned to Arizona and came back the next year, and they were very good. They got blown out by Utah. I think Keith Van Horn might have been on the team.
Yeah,
they lost to Utah in like the Elite Eight, I want to say. I don't think they made the Final Four.
No, I don't think so.
But that's something that would never happen today. You have like Mike Bibby, like a star freshman point guard, and the most outstanding player is I think it was Miles Simon was a junior. Yeah, both of those guys would have been gone. But yeah, that's kind of how I remembered, is that was their last game together, was winning the 97 championship, but then they actually
fucking Lute Olson
come back.
Yeah.
Give the guy some due. I mean, we're just reminiscing about Arizona right now.
He does seem to get left off
a lot of that
from that era, because that white hair, like he was one of those iconic coaches from the 90s. And I think college basketball is missing that. Like that to me, like having those star coaches really
100%
makes that.
We've lost a lot of them recently.
Yeah.
A lot of them recently.
You're right. Cheah, 4th round.
I'm going to go with a more recent guy again, Josh Jackson out of Kansas. This was a guy who 2017 draft, really good size, 6'8", 207. He only played 1 year at Kansas, but really, really polished player. Like scoring was there. He could rebound the ball. He could pass the ball. Looking back at this draft is crazy, the 2017 NBA draft. You got Markelle Fultz, obviously a bust at number 1 that they traded up for. Lonzo Ball, who, was looking like a promising player. Obviously, his career has been extremely derailed due to injuries. Jason Tatum's a stud. De'Aaron Fox goes 5th, but in between you have Josh Jackson. And it seemed like Josh Jackson was like, okay, maybe he is not the best shooter, and that was known, like in college. But like he has literally everything else, and we can work on that. Turns out you can't.
Can't do it.
Can't.
Yeah, he's kind of a poster child for like coaches believing they can just teach guys how to shoot.
Yeah.
Which I would fall victim to too. Is like, you can't teach a guy to be 6'8" and athletic and have the instincts to grab rebounds and do all the things that he can do. But what I could teach him how to do is keep his elbow in when he shoots, and we'll just do that. We'll just draft him and we'll teach it. Yeah,
we're gonna shoot 1,000 shots a day until you're good. Yeah.
I feel like Kawhi Leonard fucked everyone up.
Yeah,
he was like the worst shooter ever, and then became a great shooter. And everyone's like, "Oh, he's big, athletic, long arms. Like we could teach that guy to shoot. He could be the next Kawhi Leonard."
It is crazy because there are a lot of success stories, but because of those success stories, you believe that like you could just teach anybody. That all it takes is just lock yourself in a gym, put in the reps, and you'll come out. Just take one off season, learn to shoot. You'll be good.
I'm still shooting 28%.
Yeah, fuck, that was just happening.
He had like a fine enough career. Like he averaged 13 points a couple times, but in a full season, never shot greater than 42%, which is pretty damning.
I think it's a very strong pick for recent years. He was so fucking good at Kansas.
Yeah, he was a monster. Awesome. And he played, was that the same year Frank Mason won National Player of the Year? Or I think he might have won it next year. But that Kansas, every Kansas team is good. But like it wasn't like he was putting up numbers. He wasn't one of those guys that's like putting up numbers on a shitty team. He was putting up like 17 or 18 points a game and like 8 boards as a freshman on a team that was national title good. Yeah, that's a good pick, Cheah. I hate that I like all your picks.
I got another similar Kansas guy. We'll see. Chief.
Trajan Langdon. Another guy who was just felt like he can shoot it from anywhere, felt like he never missed. I thought he was going to be like a Ray Allen type in the NBA where he would just like, oh, I'm on the team. And you look up and he's made 7 threes and he's got 26 points. And I thought he was going to just be a star, and it just never really happened. What did he do in the NBA? Anything?
I gotta be honest.
He was on Cleveland, I know.
Yeah.
You guys don't know who Trajan Langdon is?
He was from Alaska.
Yeah. Trajan
Langdon. I don't think I'm not aware of him. I don't believe
that's a great assessment, Chief. He was a catch and shoot guy that I don't know.
He's older than I thought.
What year in college are we talking?
He was the 04 Final Four team for Duke, right?
Yeah.
No, 1999.
99 Final. They lost to
UConn
because they lost to UConn. That's why I got it confused. Yeah, because Duke lost to UConn in 04.
Yeah, that was the Khalid El-Amin team.
Yeah.
And Rip
played
and
3 years.
he had the ball to win the game. I think he traveled.
I think you're right.
I think you're right.
I think you're right.
I think he traveled at the 99 national championship. Did that doom him? Was that it? Was it?
That might have been it. He never recovered.
His whole NBA career, he was thinking about how he could have won the national championship and traveled.
I was thinking that he was playing later than that. I was thinking he was on like those early 2000 team. But yeah, Langdon was like the first like just assassin shooter that I remember.
Yeah. Good pick.
All right, to me, this is a personal pick. Probably, maybe one of my favorite college players of all time. Staying with Syracuse, turns out being one of the worst draft picks ever. Johnny Flynn.
Yep. Right before Steph Curry.
Yes, right before Steph Curry.
That's the problem. Steph Curry was right behind him.
But I thought I loved Johnny Flynn.
They got him and Ricky Rubio, I'm like, well, they're set.
Yep.
they're
guards.
Yep.
Drafting 2 point guards back to back.
Crazy.
Wild.
But I remember watching Ricky Rubio in the Olympics for Spain. I'm like,
oh yeah,
this guy is gonna be unbelievable. Because I think he was 17 when he was on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had like not a bad NBA career at all.
Yeah. No.
He, like retired this past year because of.
But I'm like, this is like Spanish Magic Johnson or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Or like Jason Williams. Yeah.
And they took Ty Lawson later in the 20s, but they traded it. So there was a point where their board was 3 point guards in the first round. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? That was wild.
Johnny Flynn.
Johnny Flynn was.
He was like 5th overall, right?
6th.
Yeah.
6th?
Yeah.
How tall was he?
He was short.
I was gonna say
he was short.
I remember being like 5'10" or something.
Yes. So irrational. Very irrational. I acknowledge that. But in the moment, I'm like,
he was a fast guy too. He was a guy that,
he had that
open court and.
I always hated Syracuse though.
He made me like Syracuse.
Yeah.
I fucking love Johnny Flynn.
Was that the 6 OT game? No.
I think he might have been on that team.
That was in 2000.
That was later. All right.
I think that might have been late after he left.
It was like 2010, right?
Yeah.
08, 09 was it was 08, 09.
That was the year, and then he was on that team, and then they.
Yes.
There was
He was the 09 draft.
I think there's a white player.
It was 09 draft.
Scores table.
Andy Routens.
That's who it is. Yes,
Andy Routens.
Yeah, Routens. Was Devendorf on that team?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, big Johnny Flynn guy. Ev.
I'm going with Shabazz Napier.
Yeah.
Just magical March Madness run. Everyone, I feel like a lot of people thought he was just like Kemba Walker reincarnated, who was having like a very good start to his NBA career. Thought he was going to be that guy. Wins a national title. It was incredible. Best player on the team. Yeah, I thought he was going to be a great point guard. It was winner, score, could pass. Not super big. Was one of those that probably a little irrational as well, even though he's a little older.
Yeah.
Just because of he just had such a good run. You're like, oh my God, this guy. I mean, he's incredible.
That backcourt,
and I think even the name too.
Shabazz
is just a great, awesome basketball name.
I think you're in good company with this though, because I feel like I remember a story from draft night where LeBron was like, we have to have
this. LeBron. And then LeBron never played for the Heat again.
Right? Yeah.
LeBron got him drafted and then went back to Cleveland.
That's exactly.
LeBron fucked him.
Yeah, we need Shabazz.
Also, I remember he became like the poster boy for said he won the national title and went back to his dorm and was hungry because he couldn't eat.
Yeah,
and they changed the rule, like, oh, they get unlimited food.
He
like
said
the athletes.
If you win a national championship,
he said that with confetti falling and his championship hat on, and they'd cut and he was doing like the interview, and they're like, Shabazz, you just won a national championship. Like, how do you feel? And he was like, I'm hungry.
Yeah, like I have no money to eat. Unbelievable.
He said it in that moment. It was crazy. Yeah.
D'Angelo Russell is like famous for that pass against I think it was Northwestern.
Yeah.
But Shabazz Napier did one of those in traffic. I think a pick and roll. It was in the NCAA. Maybe it was a championship game or a Final Four game where he just kind of like spun it to a dude. And at that point you're like, holy shit.
Titus.
I'm going with the guy. If you don't know Trajan Langdon, I don't know if you'll know this guy, but I assume there'll be people in the room that know the guy. Joseph Forte.
Oh, he was on my list.
He was on your list.
Yep.
Number 40. Right.
North Carolina, 6'4" guard. as a freshman, I believe Carolina went to the Final Four in 2000, and they were not that great. It was the Bill Guthridge year. He played for Matt Doherty's first year. He played 2 years at Carolina, won a ton of games. Again, he wasn't like a guy that was on some shitty teams and was just stat padding. Was like a 20-point game scorer, was an assist guy, he could really, really do it all. And then he left for the NBA at a time when like it wasn't like guys weren't leaving early, but I remember thinking like some people thought he should stick around, and I was like, no, dude, he should have gone after his freshman year. This guy's one of the best players I've ever seen. He went to the Celtics, I think.
He did.
And then just kind of never and it wasn't, I still don't really fully understand it because I wasn't really following the Celtics that closely. And
I remember hearing a story where this was like Red Auerbach's last, like I'm standing on the table, and like the whole room wanted Tony Parker, and he's like, nope, we're taking Joe Forte.
But he could shoot too, so like, it wasn't like a Josh Jackson deal where it's like, yeah, he was great, but he never really developed a shot. He could do it all. He was so talented and so fun to watch at Carolina, and I still don't really fully understand what happened, but something must have happened, obviously.
Didn't work out.
So
bad draft overall, 2001. I think it's like the worst one ever, right?
2001?
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy if you go back on like the Wikipedias of these different drafts, or like there's like 4 guys from every draft. That's how it feels like when most drafts there's just like nobody good.
There will be like 4 in the top like 15, and then there'll be like 1 or 2 late.
Right.
Wow, that guy's a pretty good player.
Yeah, but yet if your team acquires the 7th overall pick,
you're jacked.
Like, dude, that's a game.
Yeah.
That's the whole course of our franchise right there with the 7th overall pick.
Well, that's like the Bulls picked 7th like 6 years in a row, it felt like, and they're still a lottery team.
The 2000 draft was a bad one. Excuse me. You're up again.
All right, last one. Personal pick for me. Growing up in the state of Indiana and being of age at this time, was my favorite team ever. Was the 2002 Indiana Hoosiers, who beat Duke in the Sweet 16. I was at the game in Rupp Arena, and they were led by a guy by the name of Jared Jeffries. It was Jared Jeffries and 4 white guys. They made like 1 or 2 threes against Duke. Had like 23 turnovers. This is a Duke team that had Chris Duhon and Jay Williams and Mike Dunleavy and Carlos Boozer, Daniel Ewing. They were fucking stacked. Coach K was coaching the team, and Jared Jeffries and 4 white guys.
Shout out Coverdale.
Tom Coverdale. Yeah. He beat the Duke. He basically like not single-handedly. Indiana actually played like shit in that game, but they beat Duke. Jared Jeffries was such a monster at IU. And yeah, I just thought Jared Jeffries would. He was in the league long enough.
Yeah,
had an okay NBA career, but I don't know. It felt like guys who can single-handedly take teams to March heights that they have no business being at. They stick out to me as guys that are like there's something special about that guy. And Jared Jeffries was that for me. And I thought he was going to be. I thought he'd make a few All-Star teams in the NBA.
Yeah, that was the first team after Bob Knight, right?
Yeah, because Knight was fired in 2000, and then that was. I don't know if I think Jeffries. Yeah, Jeffries was like the first Mike Davis recruit, but like there were still a lot of guys that had like played for Bob Knight that were still on the team at Indiana, and they went to the 2002 national championship game, lost to a very good Maryland team, but. Yeah, that was a magical run, and Jared Jeffries. It is crazy to, again, I'm giving your listeners homework. Go back and look at the 2002 Indiana team and just be like, those guys made the national championship. It's fucking crazy.
But they were like a 5 seed.
They were 5 seed.
Yeah.
And I do love all those guys, but like there was nobody else of note that anybody you knew covered it.
There was one NBA potential guy.
Yeah, it was Jared Jeffries, and he almost it really felt like a Carmelo thing before Carmelo. If they would have beat Maryland, it would have been like a Carmelo run.
Yeah,
that Jared Jeffries took this team to a national title, and then he just kind of had a forgettable NBA career.
I have a very distinct memory of Jared Jeffries as a Knicks fan. 2010-2011 season, we're playing Boston in the first round, and it's like we just acquired Carmelo. Amari had a season where he got MVP votes. Like this was like a really, really good team, thinking you could pull the upset. Amari hurts his back in warm-ups game 2 against Boston. They just lose in game 1 on an illegal screen, whatever. Carmelo has maybe the best offensive game I've ever seen. He scored 46 points in the playoffs against a very, very good defensive team. They're signing doubles the whole time. End of the game, Knicks out the ball. I think they're down by 1 or 2. Celtics on the double or triple team at Carmelo. He throws it underneath to Jared Jeffries, who takes a layup and gets blocked or misses or something like that. And then the New York Post, which was famous for headlines the next day, said he went to Jared ? Which was kind of an all-time headline.
Oh, really good headline, actually. Damn,
Jared.
It's incredible that you remember that. I guess it is. It's a great headline.
Yeah.
Yeah, Indiana Mr. Basketball, Jared Jeffries. He won it over Zach Randolph, by the way. So that also skewed my opinion of him. Was I watched them both in high school, and I was like, yeah, Jared Jeffries is better than Zach Randolph.
Duh. Obviously.
Yeah.
You're up.
He had a pretty good NBA career, and I wonder how one guy in the room is going to take this. I hope he doesn't take it the wrong way. I think he played with him.
I knew you were going to say.
I knew you
were going to say.
Because he had a year. He averaged 17. He had like a very respectable NBA career. Was like a really solid player. But I guess the best way I can put this, I thought he was going to become what like Paul George became, like that type of guy, like a three that just could like shoot, play like long, good athletic, could do kind of like everything.
He's a great college player.
Obviously was a great college player. Like I said, had a like very solid like 10-ish I think year like NBA career. I was on some good Sixers teams, but just was never that like superstar that I thought he would be that he was in college.
His problem was in college he had the ball in his hands all the time, and I think he was a guy who needed the ball in his hands, and he couldn't really play off ball. And when he got to the league, he wasn't good enough to be a high usage rate guy where you could just. He's not like Luka Doncic, where it's just like, we'll just give you the ball. That's what he was at Ohio State. Was by the end of 2010. We were just like literally give the ball to Evan and everybody just get out of the way, and he was making plays after plays after play.
It's a good offense.
He was so good.
Yeah. He had like a half-court game winner, right?
Yeah. Michigan. But he wasn't, when he got to the NBA, he wasn't good enough to where you're like going to do that. So it's like we're going to have to put him over here, and Evan's like, that's not what I do. I need the ball in my hand. And it just that was sort of how his career panned out, was trying to get a square peg through a round hole.
Yeah, he had the local hype for me too. They were in our conference, St. Joe's, and it was him, Dimitri McCamey, and Jonathan Peoples, who went to Notre Dame, I think. And they were just
yeah. Didn't he and Rose have some kind of
Turner?
Yeah, beef
a little bit, yeah. Because he told me the story that like Derrick Rose, like he basically was willing to talk shit to Derrick Rose. That was basically like that was Evan's perspective. I don't know what the real, but Evan was just basically like, we played against each other, and I would talk shit to him and tell him I'm better than you.
That'll do it.
And I was like, that checks out.
Yep.
Yeah, legendary St. Joe's team.
But yeah,
to me, I gotta do it. Saying like talk about that Illini team, talk about D Brown. You can't talk about them without saying the guy who ripped our heart out, and it was Sean May. Like, I mean, and that's 04-05. That's prime Shaq bully ball era.
Big boy.
And that's what he did.
Small though.
He was. That's why he didn't translate.
Yeah.
So like,
I guess I was a little older than you too.
Yeah. So like
combination.
Yeah. But he was still a first rounder.
Yeah.
And I knew that.
I was a little older than you. Like, you poor thing.
Well, no, like I think I was 18 at that point, so I was like, well, this guy, good college player.
But then I guess I don't really check out D Brown, because he would have went pro if he would have he stayed an extra year, because
I thought he stayed because he was hurt though. Like, didn't he have some pre-draft? I feel like we interviewed him. I feel like he
maybe
that.
You could be right.
Yeah.
You could be right. But like I know, like I understand. Like if I was my age now watching Sean May, I'd be like, oh, he's just a college player.
Yeah.
But 14-year-old me was like,
yeah. By the time Jared Sullinger came around, you're like,
exactly.
Yeah. What?
He's dead.
He did?
Isn't he?
What?
Isn't Jared Sullinger dead?
What the fuck is going on at this company? You're the second person.
Yeah, someone said that the other day.
Dan tried to kill Jared Sullinger yesterday.
I thought he legitimately had passed away.
He legitimately did not. He is legitimately very alive.
For sure not dead.
Very good life.
Sorry. Apologies to Jared Sullinger. I think I might be thinking about Fab Mello.
You're thinking of Fab Mello.
Probably are.
But they're
but also the fact that you were in the room when Dan
Brazilian guys.
I just had like deja vu. I was like,
I'm like, what is happening that everybody in this company is trying to murder? I know that's what makes it crazy.
Yeah. No, that's why I was like, I had a moment. I was like, wait, did someone say this in the New York office? I was like, am I getting?
No, literally,
yes, it was Dan.
24 hours ago, Dan Katz was like, yeah, Jared Solinger is dead, right? And I'm like, what? And then now Stephen Cheah, who wasn't even in the room, didn't even hear that conversation, is saying the exact same thing.
Was there another Ohio State big guy that has passed?
I'm sure somewhere in the
tragically
kind of rings
young.
a bell. Not that you say that. It kind of rings a bell.
This is one of those
Fab
things
Mello
where
is Syracuse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but he played for the Celtics.
Yeah, for a little bit.
Okay.
Short.
and he's from Brazil, I think.
Celtics.
Right? Am I thinking of the right
He
guy?
had like
Thinking of Jerry Lucas?
He had the gap
Yeah.
teeth.
No.
Are you thinking of Jerry Lucas?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a set.
Because he was, I remember he was
It's
like
like
the
95 years old.
worst ever.
Jared Solinger?
No, Fab Mello.
Oh.
They used to like hack a Fab. Like they would just stick him on the line. He was a liability.
By the way, I don't even know if Jerry Lucas is dead. I think Jerry Lucas is still alive.
All right, Sean May.
Sean May. Sean May.
Yeah, some say that
Can we check to see if Sean May is alive?
Sean May's alive.
Okay.
He's on staff in North Carolina. He's been on staff
good.
for
Good
a
for
very
him.
long time. And some say if you go to St. Louis to this day and stand by the Mississippi River, you can still hear the whistle that he is drawing against the entire front court of
James Augustine just.
the entire front court,
Roger Powell.
just over and over and over.
Toss Nick Smith at him. Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Throws his
Nick
fat
Smith
ass.
had asthma, though, so that was a problem.
Chief.
TJ Ford, that Final Four was the year it was Marquette against Texas in that on that side, and I just like TJ Ford had a ton of hype. I think he was a lottery pick. Great college point guard, fast as fuck. I guess I got a thing for fast point guards, but I was convinced that he was going to be like a very like a perennial all-star in the NBA. And I think he had like a decent NBA career, like hung around for a while, but maybe had a neck injury or something.
Yeah, I think he had a spine injury.
He had a bad spill on a breakaway. I believe,
Yeah.
right.
Did not play his second
He got
season.
like smoked off a dunk and like fell awkward.
Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
Milwaukee.
But like
Yeah.
he was like stretchered off, which is something you rarely see in an NBA game.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought he was so nasty at Texas. Like that team with who's the coach who's at Tennessee now?
Barnes.
Yeah, Rick Barnes. And they like kind of came out of nowhere. I feel like Texas basketball had never been anything until those two guys got there at the same time. And I loved watching him play. So TJ Ford to round out my board.
He was such a clinical point guard too. So even some of the other point guards were flashier, and yeah, he was fast, but it wasn't like as you get older and you start like knowing what to look for in point guards. TJ Ford had all of that. Like TJ Ford was just like such a great, measured, always under control, always like just not play. He wasn't just like a guy that's like. There are a lot of guys that are super athletic and just running around, and as it turns out, chaos isn't what you need from a point guard. TJ Ford was not that, and that helped in believing that like he kind of had like Chris Paul vibe to him,
Yep.
So that was part of why you believed that he was going to be.
I believed. I thought he was Isaiah Thomas or something. Like I thought he was going to be great.
Yeah.
But
He was National Player of the Year, 2003.
was he?
Him and David West, I think, split
Okay.
some of the awards, but yeah, he was.
I love David West too.
I'm trying to find the hit. Am I misremembering?
Because I think TJ Ford was like of like I forget which award he won, Naismith or Wooden or something. He's like the lowest point per game scorer.
Really?
He only
Didn't
averaged
know that.
like he didn't average a ton of points, but he averaged 8 assists or something.
And I think their center was Chris
it was
Mihm, right? Like big white guy. Yeah.
Cheah, Mr. Relevant.
This is back to the 90s, 1998 draft, 24th pick overall. New York, there's a 30 for 30 about this guy, Felipe Lopez. The Dominican Jordan.
Yep.
He was the #1 high school player his year, ahead of Allen Iverson. And it was supposed to be like, this was when the Big East was still like a huge thing in the 90s, and it was supposed to be like Felipe Lopez, Allen Iverson. There was supposed to be this like ingrained rivalry. I think he was teammates with Artest at St. John's. And they went to the Sweet 16.
99?
And Cook.
Yeah, he was a 98 draft.
Felipe Lopez is 98.
Played for like
Ohio
all
State.
4 years.
Ohio State beat St. John's in 99 in Knoxville, Tennessee. I remember that in the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
And Artest was on that team. That's why
I believe they overlap. But he was like, obviously social media didn't exist at that time, but he was like on the cover of Sports Illustrated, like the next big thing. He was supposed to be like LeBron type hype. Obviously the media was much different than it is today, but he was supposed to be like the next guy. And, like growing up in Jersey, like New York City is supposed to have a ton of play. Like basketball is supposed to be New York City's thing. There haven't really been a ton. Like obviously Stephon Marbury, Sebastian Telfair had all this hype, but like Felipe Lopez, especially during the 90s, was like the guy.
Yeah.
And he played, 3 or 4 years at St. John's, went to the pros, and just never really did anything. And he was supposed to have all this, fanfare. And
so I don't remember him as a player in college. Like I saw the documentary and it was like all new information for me. So like the 30 for 30, I was like, so he kind of flopped in college then too, right?
No, I mean his college numbers are good.
He had a weird, like I remember his stock was kind of like higher than lower, then he kind of like had a resurgence.
17.8 points.
Oh,
per game,
okay.
16.2,
All right.
50.9, 17.6. So he played 4 years. Those are really good numbers for college.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was obviously like an older pick, like 98 draft, and he started playing college basketball in 94. So
he was on the Wizards in 2001. And he was averaging 8 points a game. Do we think Jordan just broke him mentally? Just add him to the list of the guys with Michael Jordan. Just like, you can't hack it here. Get out.
Possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Ron Artest was a freshman when Felipe was a senior.
Okay.
In '98. Yeah,
Okay.
they played
Who was
one.
that other guy they had?
They lost to Detroit Mercy in the first round, which might be why you don't really remember.
Yeah.
Because he didn't really have an NCAA tournament moment or like that sort of thing. And then the next year, St. John's went to the Sweet 16 or something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember that guard on St. John's who was nasty too. I want to say his last name is Cook.
Omar
Cook.
Omar Cook,
Yeah.
Omar Cook.
All right, let's do honorable mentions, then we'll vote someone off and we'll get out of here. Titus, you got anything?
No, you guys mentioned all. I was very confident in my list, and then we said them all. So I can't. I mean, I could do this all day, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, dudes, but there's nobody that I had on my list that I didn't take.
I've got some names.
All right.
You might have played against this guy, Juwan Johnson. Purdue.
Oh yeah, Purdue.
I think he might have been Big Ten Player of the Year.
Yeah, I think he was.
Tall, 6'10". I thought he was awesome. I loved Troy Murphy, Notre Dame. Brevin Knight, do you remember that point guard from Stanford? Ron Mercer, former Bull great. He was unbelievable at Kentucky. And then a personal one for me, I was in love, obsessed with those Jamie Dixon Pitt teams. DeJuan Blair. Yeah. I thought DeJuan Blair was going to be Charles Barkley.
Yep.
He was the best, mean as fuck. Walking double-double. I loved DeJuan Blair, and he just never did anything. Yeah.
He was on the Spurs, I remember, for a little bit.
Yeah. I remember when he went to Spurs, I'm like, oh, Pop's going to make him. He's going to make him a star.
Yeah.
Ev?
One he had a good run. Kind of right was Trey Burke. I remember thinking it was going to be really good.
He's on my list too.
And then I had two guys from both from Maryland. Melo Trimble. I thought he had that big hype when he was a freshman, then stayed for a while, stuck down draft wise. I don't even know if he really played.
His name helps too.
Yeah, just Melo.
Being named Melo Trimble.
And then
he's way
I don't even know how much I thought this guy was going to be like an NBA star. I guess I sort of Grievous Vasquez. I was a big fan of it. I remember he had a good game that I thought potentially at the time. I thought I just liked watching him.
Chris Wilcox from Maryland too.
Yeah. I had Juan Dixon on my list, another Maryland guy, but NBA size he didn't really have. Marcus Fizer, Bulls guy.
Yeah, that's the guy I was referencing.
Iowa State fourth overall. He was 270, 6'10". He seemed like he should have been Carlos.
Was he that tall? I thought he was shorter.
Yeah, he wasn't very tall.
I thought he was.
I think that was one of his issues. But it was him, Chandler, Curry, Jay Williams, and Mercer. That would have been the team. And
who knows?
Did not pan out.
Yeah.
Mateen Cleaves.
Yep,
I had.
got him too.
Michigan State. Thomas Robinson, Kansas, 2012. I thought he was going to be like Amara. He got picked one before Damian Lillard. And then a little bit personal one, Kevin Knox out of Kentucky. Only played a year there. He was drafted 9th overall. Before Mikal Bridges, SGA, and Miles Bridges. And I remember reading the reports coming out because the Knicks had the 9th pick that year, and he was like, a lot of people wanted Miles Bridges, but Kevin Knox just destroyed him in a workout. And then he had, honestly, maybe the best summer league I've ever seen from a rookie.
I was going to say
and he was incredible. To the point where I was like, we have a superstar.
It was, I'm pretty sure that when he was that time I was interning at an intern here, and I was sleeping on like my buddy's couch, like in Brooklyn, just so I could like work because it was too far to commute and whatever. Yeah. And I remember just like getting home from it and like watching those summer league games and being like, we got like this is our guy. Like Kevin Knox is the future.
Yeah.
And just an absolute dud.
The NBA is fucking hard.
Yeah.
It's like you really need like a generational guy. Like that's the only way to win.
Well, it's just crazy thinking about how, picture yourself at 21 years old and being like, all your earning potential depends on your performance in the next 2 or 3 years.
That's crazy.
It's like, and you have all the money in the world.
Yep.
He was so young too. He was like
he was 19.
Even.
He was 19.
I got 5 left. Couple Nova guys: Randy Foye, Scotty Reynolds, Chris Douglas Roberts.
CDR.
That Memphis team was great. He averaged more than Rose too.
He was jacked as fuck too.
Yeah.
Am I thinking of the right guy?
You're thinking of Joey Dorsey, maybe.
Joey Dorsey.
Yeah.
Who famously said his matchup against Greg Oden was going to be David and Goliath, and that Joey Dorsey is Goliath. A fundamental misunderstanding of the David and Goliath story, I would say. That
I was.
This is David Goliath. I'm Goliath. It's like Joey. Goliath lost.
Yeah.
Fucking
shit.
My Kansas one was Ben McLemore.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good one.
Awesome.
So good.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
Brandon Rush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm stunned McLemore didn't come out to be more. And then this one's irrational, but I always loved Shane Larkin.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Miami.
Yeah.
He had like a 42-inch vert.
Yeah.
They won the ACC with him.
Yeah, he was sick.
They made a deep run that year, right?
Yeah, they
good.
did. It was fun.
I have a question for the room. Christian Laettner, how good of an NBA player do you remember him being?
He's on the original Dream Team.
Yeah, that's why
I think he made one All-Star team.
He made an All-Star game.
Yeah.
With the Hawks, I believe.
13 years, and it's funny because he came to mind as a guy I was going to put on my list. And then, I actually went back and looked, and I was like, dude, he was not bad at all.
Yeah.
But, he's one of the most accomplished college players of all time. I was on the Dream Team, and because he wasn't, a Hall of Famer, I remember him as, he's kind of sucked in the NBA.
All right.
And you go back, and he's got, 6 years averaging 18 points.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
that's what happened. I mean, if you set the standard, we went to the Final Four every year. Yeah. Right? You went all 4 years, Final Four,
all
2
4
championships.
Back-to-back national champions, and then was on the Dream Team.
Yeah.
Pretty good start. He's the only guy that's not in the Hall of Fame. That was on the Dream Team.
All right, I'm going to read them off, and you guys vote who you think had the worst draft, and it will not be on this week's poll. Just put on a blank text or whatever. Titus, Adam Morrison, Derek Williams, Salim Stoudemire, Joseph Forte, Jared Jeffries, Ev, Jimmer Fredette, Austin Rivers, OJ Mayo, Shabazz Napier, Evan Turner, Eddie Emeka Okafor, Shane Battier, Hakeem Warwick, Johnny Flynn, Sean May, Chief Keith Van Horn, Jabari Parker, D. Brown, Trajan Langdon, TJ Ford, Cheah, Jalil Okafor, Michael Beasley, Miles Simon, Josh Jackson, Felipe Lopez.
Good list, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Good list.
Who do you got, Titus?
As I'm looking here, I like Ev's team. It's either Ev or Cheah for me.
Who is the worst?
Oh, the worst?
The worst, yes.
I'm fucking this up.
Well, we could come back to you, Chief.
Come back to me.
So I actually was going to vote for Cheah.
Okay.
So.
Ev?
I think I'm going to go Chief just because you went some guys, I didn't even get to watch, half the guys you picked. Yeah. I was too young, so.
Cheah?
I had decided prior to you voting for me that I was going to vote for your team. Apologies.
Okay.
Titus?
I'm going with yours, Eddie, I think.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
I had Chief.
Sean May is.
Chief, that's 3 votes.
All right.
Fortunately, you're voted.
I'm going to blog TJ Ford on Monday.
Chief, for what it's worth, I think you might have won the draft.
What's that?
For what it's worth, I think you maybe won the draft.
Oh, thank you. So. Yeah.
All right, fun draft. Thanks, guys, for doing it.
That was fun.
That's it. All right.
What's up, boys?
Have a good March, everybody. We'll see you next time.